Hello guys, welcome to Open Techno. Today we're going to review a pool robot, a very special pool cleaner because we won't need to take it out of the water for anything at all. It's the WYBOT S2 Solar, a super complete pool cleaner that can also charge itself using this solar kit, which we have right here on the edge of the pool. So let's do the unboxing and get to know it completely in this video. To begin with, the first thing we get in the box is the cleaner itself. It's a quick start guide which tells us that the first thing we need to install is the solar kit, and then we can use the pool robot. But anyway, let's open the pool robot first to see what's inside this box. The first thing we get is a base, which right now I'm not exactly sure where we're going to place it. On the back, we can already see the solar panel connector. So, well, I understand that it's part of the stand where the pool cleaner itself will be placed to charge automatically. Then we get a bag in which we have several filters. I understand that this is to put it on the vacuum. This must be glue. Right now, I don't know what it's for. And we also get, importantly, a little hook to attach it to a pool pole. And hey, if the robot gets stuck in the middle of the pool for whatever reason, we can rescue it without having to get in. We also get a wired charger, the classic kind, to plug it into a home outlet. I guess it's in case we need to clean the pool and for whatever reason there's no sun, it's raining or it's cloudy. We can recharge the device using a cable as usual. However, we're going to set up the solar part. And finally, we have the pool cleaner itself, which honestly isn't very big either. I mean, the design is smaller than the robots we've seen before, and this would be the WYBOT S2. It's entirely black with a few details. For example, this is the turbine outlet, which I believe it uses for water suction to stick to surfaces like walls and floors. Power button. This looks like a button to manually select the cleaning mode we want. Here we have what looks like a charging port. I assume this is where you connect the cable we just saw. To charge, use a standard cable plugged into your home outlet. On the sides, we can see it has these straps, these tracks, to move with maximum grip inside the pool, both on the floor and on the walls. And let me mention this part at the back. Yeah, we have a small compartment here where we find the basket that will collect all the dirt the robot vacuums up, Sama. And here in the middle, before reaching the outlet, the water passes through this filter that almost looks like Velcro. It's black, and I understand this is the filter that can later be replaced with the things we've seen that came there, well, for replacing worn out parts and so on. But for now, this is how it comes. And something I'm noticing that hasn't completely convinced me is the build quality of the clips, the ones we have for this trunk. It seems you have to force them a lot to close. On the front, we have an area to use as a handle for carrying it to the pool or grabbing it with the hook. Here, it looks like we have some sensors, which we'll find out what they're for later. And on the front part, we have these rotating brushes that will spin with the robot to move all the dirt on the floor and then later push it into the filter. This opening here is the one that vacuums up the dirt. We also notice that it has some support wheels and some rubber seals that seal off the entire back part of this robot. So if it catches a leaf but doesn't vacuum it right away, as it moves, the leaf will eventually return to this opening and won't be able to pass through to the back. I think this is going to be good and will help pick up absolutely all the dirt from the pool. And now let's move on to the unboxing of the solar kit, which, well, this one looks a little bit smaller. Let's lift up a few protective pieces here. And we find the solar panel right away, which honestly didn't look like it, but it actually is heavy. And here we have the solar panel. Well, this is where it would collect all the energy from the sun. And here we have some quick buttons, like for example, to start a cleaning directly on the robot from here, if we don't want to do it from the mobile app. On the other hand, we get a couple of cables. We get a cable with two connectors, which I understand is to connect the solar panel, and another cable that seems odd to me. I'm not sure what it's for. It connects to a traditional outlet, but I don't know its purpose. But let's follow the steps given in the quick start guide and see how to set it up. The first thing we have to install is the solar panel. It's very simple. This is a hinge. Basically, we need to first adjust the bottom part against the pool, and then we have a couple of light blue adjustments here in the middle so that the hinge doesn't keep turning once we set it at the angle we want. And finally, the solar panel has some legs underneath that we can adjust a bit to give it some height so it doesn't tilt and the solar panel stays as straight as possible. The next thing we need to do is remove the two covers we have on this part of the hinge. Why? To access the connector where the current from the solar panel comes out. Now, this comes with several protections and so on. To connect the charging base, we simply hook it with the tabs it has to the hinge, the one on the solar panel. So it stays fixed there. It doesn't move at all. Now we need to connect both included cables. One from the solar panel and one from the charging base. Because this has a set position, you can't get it wrong. We try it out and right where they go in, we tighten it with this little screw and it will be sealed. And actually, we can put it in this position so it fits perfectly. Now we put the covers back on. From this point where the dock station is connected to the solar panel, what we have to do is hold down the power button on the solar panel. We see that the little light turns blue. So, well, now we can be sure that this has power. And we do the same with the robot. So now the robot is also turned on. At this point, what we have to do is place it on the dock station. To set up the mobile app, we simply download it, add a new device, select our WYBOT S2 Solar and connect to our Wi-Fi, and it asks us to add a pool, so we're going to tell it that we have a pool. Oval and rounded with a flat bottom and made of vinyl. We're going to confirm and well, we'll leave it as our default pool because right now there aren't any others. We select it, we hit confirm, and now it tells us that it's connected both by Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. Once the robot is connected for the first time, it's very important to do all the updates that appear in the app. After that, what the app allows us to do is very simple. At the bottom, you'll find all the cleaning modes. We can tell it to do the floor, the walls, or to do the walls and then the floor. To do a complete cleaning, to clean the entire edge of the pool, to do the floor very quickly, or in an eco mode so that by moving more slowly, it saves some energy. In the weekly cleaning section, we can set which days of the week we want it to do an automatic cleaning, since this robot with the solar panel is 100% autonomous. So, could we say here which days we want it to go out and clean the pool and at what times? We can also decide, based on the day, what type of cleaning we want it to do. Right now, the robot is cleaning. That's why it tells us our option is to send it back to the charging station where we could control it manually. I'll show you that later. Well, if we want to, for example, clean a smaller area to our liking, we can do it directly from here. Right now, we can see here at the top the battery levels for both the solar panel and the robot itself. The solar panel is at 72% and the robot is at 64%. And the solar panel would charge at its own pace, so it keeps gaining energy. And when the robot finishes cleaning and returns to the charging station, it will recharge. Based on the battery that the solar panel has and the energy it receives in real time. The app is very simple and doesn't let us do more. We're going to manually control the robot now, so we tap on remote control and this way we could operate it. So let's make it move backward. And if you look at the pool, it's moving backward, the pool backward. Now the same, we move it forward and let's try to make it turn a bit to the right as well. And as you can see, we could guide it to clean a specific area. Another important thing about how it works is that once we start it, we can select the cleaning mode from this button here to clean the floor, the walls, the floor, the walls. In the same way, it shows us the battery level through these LEDs on its front part. Let's discuss the key aspect and the value this robot offers compared to others we've reviewed and those available on the market. In this case, what this WYBOT S2 Solar offers us is infinite autonomy. That is, we can clean our swim endlessly without worrying every few days about removing, charging, and replacing it repeatedly. The advantage of this robot is that it goes out to clean and can be scheduled for a few hours daily. When it finishes cleaning or its battery is low, it returns home and charges itself using its solar panel. This solar panel has an internal battery that allows us to transfer its charge to the robot and at the same time also provide the robot with energy from the solar panel in real time. Now, if we live in an area that's usually very cloudy, the thing is that we can also charge it using a traditional charger. We can connect our robot to the grid or have a cable ready for the solar panel. And in this way, the robot remains completely autonomous, so we don't need to remove it from the water. This aligns with WYBOT's eco-friendly policies. In the end, this robot will use only renewable energy from the solar panel. What advantages does this robot offer over others on the market? Well, of course, the possibility of operating without any kind of cables, completely wirelessly. It's not just that it charges automatically, but it can also move around the pool without any kind of cable in the way. Its operating time with a fully charged battery, the brand promises, is 150 minutes or 2.5 hours. And this can easily give it enough time to cover a pool of up to 300 square meters. Which I think is quite difficult to achieve because, for example, in the test we've been doing in this pool, which doesn't even reach 80 square meters, after about 40 minutes or so of cleaning, it's used up approximately 40% of the battery. So I doubt that if we want to do a thorough cleaning, we'll reach those 300 meters of pool. However, if we only want to clean the bottom, we can use the eco option, which goes slower. And possibly, well, we might be able to reach somewhat larger pools. Let's see how much dirt it has cleaned after spending about 40 or 50 minutes cleaning the bottom and walls of the pool. To see the dirt, we simply remove this little box that's on the back of the robot, and here we can see all the dirt it was able to collect. We can shake it out onto the grass and just clean it with a hose so that everything in this filter comes out. By the way, I should mention that this filter we have here is capable of collecting dust, leaves, and all kinds of dirt up to a size of 180 micrometers. On the other hand, let's take a look at this filter, this second filter that the robot has, and see what it has vacuumed up. And well, we can see that some things have indeed stayed here. There are also some small twigs, an insect or two, and so on, which we can clean in the same way. By rinsing it with a little water, most of this dirt comes off. Although, well, some are twigs that you can even remove by hand. Now for the robot, we can do the same. We can also use the hose to remove all the dirt and make it clean. That is, this vacuum robot is compatible with all types of surfaces and materials used to build a pool. That is, it can be cement, it can be liner, it can be mosaic, it can be absolutely any normal type of material it is made of. Any pool, it has a maximum operating depth of up to 3 meters. Now, this robot says it can work with any type of pool. If it's true, it can work with pools that are more oval, rectangular, or even have stairs, because it will be able to avoid them. However, based on our experience testing it, it's true that it does have a bit of trouble. The areas that are oval, the areas that are straight, it cleans them pretty well, it behaves logically, but when it has, for example, a circle or a very pronounced curve, we've seen that sometimes it just can't climb up the wall, it just stays at the edge and can't get enough traction or stick to the wall to climb it. You'll be seeing a clip where it got stuck in the first few centimeters of the climb and couldn't finish going up. Now, at the front, I mentioned that we have a visual sensor with a camera that allows it to see and detect objects, for example, to avoid them. What can the lights be like when a pool has lights on the floor? On the other hand, infrared sensors are used to scan the pool, and that way, it can perfectly recognize which part is the floor and where the walls begin. Now, there's a point that I really liked, which is the option it offers to do a normal cleaning. A turbo cleaning mode with higher suction and an eco-friendly power mode. So, we likely have less dirt and can estimate it uses less energy. That way, hey, it's going to extend the life or the duration of the battery. These are things we've seen on the channel in robots that cost almost twice as much. However, robots in this price range usually don't offer this much suction power adjustment. To conclude, I'd like to say that I think this robot makes a lot of sense if we want to use it, for example, in a place where we don't have an electrical supply and we need some kind of diesel generator. Or simply if we don't have electricity, because if we have a pool, we might want it to work in a completely autonomous way. Now, the WYBOT brand itself says that for this robot to charge using the solar panel and really get a good amount of energy, it needs a lot of sunlight. So, hey, if you live, for example, in Cantabria, Asturias, in the north of Spain, and you think there will be a lot of cloudy days, maybe this version isn't the best for you, and it would be better to go for a version that's always wired. So it's fully autonomous and can always be charged without relying on the sun. Ultimately, everyone must decide for themselves. Lastly, let's discuss the price. The price of this WYBOT S2 Solar, including both the robot and the solar pack, that is the solar panel, They will cost us 1,300 euros total, which, as I said, you should consider carefully. What type of user is this device intended for? If you have any questions, leave them in the comments and we'll answer as soon as possible. More information about this robot is available in the description below. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, leave a like and see you next video. Goodbye.